This is going to be another MonoGame video about loading content and using that content. This one's specifically about fonts or drawing text to the screen. So over on the side here you can see the steps we're going to be going through: creating a font file, loading the font, drawing text to the screen using that font, and then I'll go over some advanced topics really quick. So first off, let's go ahead and add our font. So when it comes up, right click, add new item, spriteFont, name it. That's all you have to do in here, but go ahead and do a build just to make sure that you get green. If there's some sort of an issue in any of your other content, it's better to find out now. Save it, close that. You now have a new file called gamefont.spritefont. In here, you'll want to change the font style. So in this case, it defaults to Arial, the size, or something like that. So let's change this to, I don't know, 26. We'll leave it at Arial for now, though, and then we'll put some spacing of 1. Okay. And that is the first part. That is creating a font file that can be used with the content pipeline of MonoGame. Let's open up our game1.cs file and let's go ahead and load the font. So we need a variable to store it in. We will be very simple and just call it font. After that, we need to load the content. And right after we load the texture of the arrow earlier, we're just going to go ahead and load that game font that we created moments ago. All right, we need to see this on the screen somewhere. So let's create a variable to store our location where we want to draw this. Actually, let's do 300 over by 200 down. And realistically, though, we don't need to do another begin and end in this case. The only reason you would need to do that is if you're going to be using some of those other options like I was talking about before, if you're changing the way that you're drawing to the screen. But we're using the default for this, the previous arrow, and we're using the default for drawing this message. And so because of that, there's no reason to have a second begin and a second end. Save it. Let's go ahead and run it and see if it worked. All right, there we go. We have got font now in the game. And if you need to change the position of it, you just change the location where you're drawing it with this vector. And if you want to change the color, you change the color right here, color blue. Obviously, the text would be right there. And then the font style is whatever font you've loaded with the content pipeline. That's the majority of all the video. The last little bit here is advanced topics. So there are 3 other things to consider. Localization. For instance, if you're trying to support a game that you're going to be selling to markets that are going to other countries that don't speak English, let's say, it might be a good idea if your game has a lot of text to use localization and the resource files. You can read up about that on the MonoGame's website or over on Microsoft's website, because the resource file is actually I guess an inherent default Microsoft way of doing things with a .NET framework. You could also create your own font. So in our example, we used Arial, but you could create your own font. There's tools out there to build your own font. You can read about the font format. And as long as the font is on your computer, installed in your system computer on Windows, then you can use that during the content pipeline build process to generate the files, the binary files that are used by MonoGame. The last piece is you could always just build your own font without using spriteFont, without using an actual font on the computer that you're developing with. To do that, you basically would just generate an image. And that image would have to contain the text that you're going to be displaying on the screen. So for instance, if you were going to be doing that, you would need to have the ASCII table, and then you'd have to design your font style, draw a bunch of pictures for each one of the characters. The printable characters start here at 32. This space, exclamation point, etc. So you could do that, but there really isn't a reason to. It's overkill. Just use the default spriteFont format and decide which font style that's installed on your computer you want to use. That's it.